Alright, that was a piece by Frédéric Chopin, his second etude from his 24 etudes, which are amazing. And this is just obviously a little part, and this is just also an example of something that you could practice on guitar, something from piano, which works out actually quite cool here on the guitar. And what I want to talk about here in this video, other than showing you the notes that I'm playing, which you can obviously find on the blog here on the link under the video, but what I also want to talk about here is to reach the technique in alternate picking that makes you able to take up the speed. Because what differs from alternate picking to many other techniques on the guitar is that you sort of evolve in what I like to call quantum leaps. Because on guitar, when you play alternate picking, it takes a hell of a lot of repetitions before you're able to take up the speed. And it sort of feels like, you know, when you reach a point where you can see on the metronome that you suddenly could go quite a bit over this speed that you've been playing for a long time. And this is also one of the reasons that a lot of people quit who want to play fast alternate picking. Another thing that you can also measure quite easily, especially if you're using a metronome when you play alternate picking, is that your top speed might be the speed where you're actually able to play the notes, but it does not still doesn't sound good. You know, the quality of the notes are still not good. And what I mean by the quality of notes when I say that is, you know, you experience quite a bit of pop outs. Say that you're playing 10 notes, then maybe 3 or 5 of those notes you actually only hear the pick, so you don't necessarily hear the note. And this is something that happens a lot on the guitar, especially where you play fast, and maybe also even if you add distortion. And this is something that only you can be the judge of. If you're content, if you're happy with that result. If you're not, and I'm guessing that since you're watching this video, you need to work on your alternate picking. What I want to get back to here is some of the things that really helped my alternate picking, why I could really feel some benefits that I was a little bit surprised of, was especially when I was practicing pieces of music. For example, especially the classical pieces. I always enjoyed playing violin pieces on the guitar, stuff like that, also flute, but also piano. But piano is sometimes a little tough because there's some pieces on piano that just it doesn't really work on the guitar, and also some of those Chopin pieces. But this particular one, the second etude, works very well. What I'm going to say about that is, when I practiced those pieces, I could really hear it and feel it in my alternate picking, the benefits that I got from practicing those classical pieces. And it's not because they're classical, but it's pieces where you don't necessarily have all your focus on the results regarding speed, but it's because you enjoy the process, because they're so musical. And so I could really, when I've been practicing a classical piece, it could be this, it could be some Paganini or some Beethoven or stuff like that, you know, when I've finished with my practicing session, then I could really hear it afterwards when I started to playing you know, fast scale runs and stuff like that. I could feel that it really cleans up my technique. And what this means is that as long as you're working with the technique, not necessarily just speed drills and stuff like that, but pieces where you're working with the technique. And what I mean by this is pieces where you have your focus on the technique. That could be on the picking, the synchronization between the right and left hand, and not necessarily just how fast you can move your hand up and down. But this is of course also something that you need to work on if you want to be a fast alternate picker. But those classical pieces and those musical pieces where I just still practicing maybe with a metronome, but they just really rubbed off on all my fast alternate picking runs. So I would present this piece to you as an alternate picking lesson. And this is not, what I'm saying also is that you don't necessarily have to have a goal of playing this piece at 200 BPM. First of all, the piece by Chopin is not really that fast, so that's one thing. But the other thing is just that you are working with the technique, you are using the technique, and you have your focus on the right amount of, you know, movement from the pick and all that stuff, more than necessarily the speed, because this prepares your technique to be able to play fast in so much other stuff, like the fast alternate picking runs and stuff like that. So I would really, I think you will enjoy practicing this once you get all the notes down. This is just one piece that is repeated twice, and so I think it's a lot of fun to practice this and just, you know, taking up the beat just a notch every day. But let's just quickly go through the elements that I'm talking about here. That since I'm talking about keeping your focus on the technique, the alternate picking technique. So what I mean by this is not just to move the hand up and down really fast. It's, you know, finding a good spot for the picking hand. And what I'm talking about here is the spot that I'm using anyway. And I think for good alternate picking is to keep the hand here on the bridge here. You can actually see that my guitar is kind of worn out here on the metal, but anyway, what I mean here is that you keep the hand on one spot preferably, and not moving the hand up and down, not moving the arm up and down. And so we actually have two points of movement here. One is this one here, and that's actually a wrong word, not 2 points of movement, but this is where my movement comes from, the picking hand. And you can see I have sort of two anchor points here. One is exactly here from the bridge, but the other one is here. My arm is resting here on the body. But what I do is when I play is I don't move my hand up and down. I only use my move my hand up and down, but not the arm. I don't do this, and I don't move my hand up like this when I go play on the high strings, and then back here when I play on the low string. This is my technique, and of course you can find pretty much any kind of technique that some people use with success. But so it's what this means is that of course anything is possible with persistence. But I think if you keep your focus on keeping everything as simple as possible, which means as little movement as possible everywhere in each hand, you will reach a goal of perfection in your technique, which then gives you the possibilities of playing fast. That's what you should be after. So that is my suggestions for working on the alternate picking. The other thing is obviously just playing up and down, and also when you're working on a new piece, for example something like this where we have quite a few spots where we play 4 notes per string, but also some spots where we play 2 notes per string. You should really be aware that you play down, up at all times, because this often what happens here in this situation when you're working on a new piece that is not just a scale shape that you know very well, but as soon as you work on something new, something like this for example, where I have a variety of 3 and 4 note per string, sometimes you start by accident to play two downstrokes at one point, and you should just be aware of this. Is this really the way that you want to play this? So if you want to play this with alternate picking, which is the topic here, you should really be aware of this while you're playing slow, and then gradually move up the tempo, because this is what happens to a lot of people. They sort of work in some bad habits, which is actually what keeps people from being able to excel in speed. The other thing, of course, which is nothing new, I guess, since you are watching this video, you should probably heard about this before, but it's the amount of movement. For example, here in the fingers, that you don't move the fingers too far away from the fretboard, because if you can if you can imagine that the point of where the pick hits the string needs to be exactly at the same point where the finger hits the string here in the fretting hand. So the longer the finger is from the string, theoretically anyway, the tougher it will be to hit at just the right second. And again, this is just little pointers that can help you alternate picking if this is something you haven't thought about before. And also, they're not necessarily completely game changers regarding speed and stuff like that, but there are little points that can help you in the long run and in the big picture regarding reaching speed and especially perfecting your technique. Let me just show you what I'm talking about here. It's the right time between the right and left hand, between the movement down and the movement up. Just imagine your fingers is a long way away from the fretboard, and then the time before it takes that it hits just in the right time on the string, and then that must be the exactly right time where the pick is hitting, if you know what I mean here. So if you keep your fingers as close as possible, the chance of those two elements hitting at the right time, both hitting at the right time, will definitely become stronger. And again, I'm not saying that it's not possible, because there's obviously examples of some amazing guitar players who actually does that. But I believe that you can save some time in your process of becoming a fast alternate picker. I start here on the A string and I play a few 4-note string patterns. I start on the 12th fret and play 4 semi-notes in a row, and I go chromatically up here to the D string, which then makes me start on the 11th fret, and then on the G string on the 10th, and then I start also on the 10th on the B string. And then here on the high E string, that also happens something that is definitely a point where you should be aware of that synchronization of, and whether you're playing a down and up stroke, and if you accidentally play 2 ups or 2 downs or something like that. Because what I do, I start on the 9th fret here, play chromatically up to the 12th, and then I have no more fingers left, so I do a little slide into the 13th. I don't use the slide as the effect in the piece. I just imitate having 5 fingers. And then actually just sliding back again here when I get down to the 10th into the 9th. And then I move into the 13th fret on the B string and play chromatically down here and slide into from the 10th into the 9th. And then I play a 3-note string pattern. 12, 10, 9. And then I play a crazy little thing here on the G string. I play between my ring and little finger. I play 12, 11, 12, and then go down and play 9, 8 with my long and index finger. And then I play from my ring finger 10, 9, 8. And then I move into the D string and play another 3-note string pattern. 12, 10, 9, 10, 12, 10, 9. And then I do just a repetition between the 9th and 10th here. And then I play this last note is a 8th note, where the rest is 16th note. And then I move all the way up to the 14th fret on the D string and play 14, 13, 12, 11, and into the B string and play 15, 14, 13 and 12, and then the piece starts over again. And of course, as always, to get the tablature for the lesson, click the link under the video here to get to the website called The Secrets of Shred Guitar to get the tablature and some more insights on the playing here. I'm Niels Weidit, and see you in the next lesson.